Hi there. When it comes to games, I'm reminded of the times when we used to play hide and seek, tag, or hopscotch. But today, gaming is no child's play. It has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. In this episode, I spoke with someone who since very early age followed his passion of gaming and turned it into a very successful business enterprise. I present to you Ivan Trancik, CEO and founder of SuperScale. I hope you like the episode. Hello, Ivan. So excited to have you here today. And
thanks for inviting me.
thank you so much. And we've been planning to have this conversation for such a long time, so I'm really excited. Before we go more into our topic for today, let us understand, who are you, Ivan? You are the CEO of SuperScale, and thank you for inviting us in your office today. But tell us more about you.
So where to begin? I guess where I studied. That's definitely something that gave me a lot of ideas, friends, and inspiration what to do afterwards. So I studied computer science here in Bratislava, and I met a ton of smart people that ultimately we've ended up working together and creating all these awesome things. And yeah, I think that formed me, like being around smart people, always trying to do something, pushing the limits, making something crazy, and essentially always not being satisfied or being let's say local, doing something, let's say, average or local. I think this is something that influenced me a lot. And yeah, I essentially after I finished my studies, obviously I was doing a bunch of stuff here and there. I always wanted to kind of create something on my own, and something that really influenced me quite a bit. After I finished the school, I was very lucky to meet Jožo Kovač, who kind of became my mentor, and also brought me as a co-founder of a company who was later known as Exponia, and showed me this, I would say, textbook example how to essentially apply some of the theoretical things that you would learn in school into actually a business world and business application.
So if I understand well, after finishing your education here in Slovakia, you were employed, your first employment, or briefly employed, or you were associated with Exponia, where Jožo is a co-founder, was kind of your mentor, and from there you branched out on your own, and then you founded SuperScale. Am I correct? Or did you also have any experience?
Yeah. So even before, obviously, I had my own small business. We've been doing before I learned how to program, I was doing mostly on like a primary and secondary school. Yeah. I was more into like IT services and system administration. When I learned how to program, I found out that actually this is is much more fun and more lucrative. So this is where I started doing web application. And then when mobile industry kind of started by iPhone 3 and actually introduction of App Store. Yes. This is something that I was lucky to be very early on. And this is also when I first time, this was during my studies, we already had for the time kind of a successful successful test how to actually create an app, distribute it to the world,
Did you make some any money? Was that a side gig?
So that was essentially, this was one crazy summer when my friend Alex called me like, "Hey man, have you seen this?" and sent me this article about how a farting app made $1 million in like 24 hours since launching on the store. I was like, what is this? What crazy thing is this? You can absolutely make something so much better than these guys who made a farting app, and obviously we should deserve much more money for that. So let's figure out how to jump on this train. And this was like our first time when we I would say first kind of this proto startup kind of a thing that we've done with a couple of friends. when we essentially try to really hard to understand how we can essentially create an app, send it to App Store, sell it globally, make some money out of it. Unfortunately, we didn't really make more than the farting app that we found out.
What happened with the group of friends? Have they all become?
But all of them essentially, basically all of them that we tried became very successful startup entrepreneurs on their own. But still we made some money, especially for like a student. It was very nice considering that we didn't really own an iPhone ourselves when we started programming, or not even Mac, and we really need to borrow for a bunch of friends to actually to develop something and to try it. And it's definitely kickstarted the career of ours. I essentially, after this experience, because we were so early in this emerging market, and this is where I first time learned that it does pay off to be an early adopter on something trend which would be big. We became one of the very few in the region that actually have a tangible experience in how to actually do develop and publish mobile applications. So I branched out as well. I went to the route of doing B2B applications. So essentially, I've got inbound from AXA Insurance Group to actually help them to create.
Still here in Slovakia.
Yeah, still here and still studying.
Still
right?
Student. Great.
So to actually create a mobile app for like insurance mobile app. So if you actually are part of a car accident, you could you can document it on your iPhone, create pictures, send it online, and you don't really need to fill the papers,
paperwork and forms,
paperwork and so on. And it was a super interesting project, considering that we're really just a bunch of students to get this kind of opportunity was again rare, but there wasn't much competition back then because we were super early on in this stuff. So it definitely was a great another great experience how we can leverage this know-how. And then we tried a bunch of stuff here and there. It grew to like some smaller, I would say, IT consulting company. We're doing some apps for development, some for our own needs.
Still a student.
Yeah, still as a student. And then essentially when I finished my studies, I get a call from my good friend and again a classmate for over 10 years, Marian. That hey, that he knows that I have a business of my own and I may not be interested, but there is something very cool happening with this company that he joined recently, which was founded by Jožo Kovač and later became known as Exponia. And this is also what I would say, kind of a final formed who I became next. I delved into data analytics and business optimization, kind of a industry or segment, and this is essentially where it kind of all began. I discovered that by companies, no matter how big, how successful, if they have too many users, customers, players, they are having trouble understanding how to what to offer them and how to prioritize the development of features, the interaction of the content, the pricing, the catering to the different needs, because it's very hard if you don't have like 10 customers that you can call and ask what they want and give it to them. But if you have million, 10 million, 100 million, and whatever, hundreds of thousands coming each day, the only way how we can do it is through data. And this is a very challenging topic. It's one thing is to gather some data. The second thing is to essentially make something out of them, right? And you know it yourself as working as a senior executive.
Yes, I am surrounded by
for one of the biggest
playing with data, and I definitely agree that data combined with insights and actions is extremely powerful.
Extremely powerful and extremely complicated to actually get to the point that somebody does. So yeah, this was definitely super formative, and the experience with Exponia taught me a lot, and especially when we got our first gaming client, because essentially what we were like more generally, let's say, doing any kind of, let's say, B2C business or business that had whatever, a lot of data, a lot of customers. So it was e-commerce or e-shops more specifically. There was a big segment, I don't know, some tanks, some banks, some telcos, and kind of the boring stuff. But when we started as a kind of a accident or coincidence, working with some of the games, for me it just clicked that hey, e-shops, even bigger e-shops, they kind of they have bunch of limitation in the scalability of their business. E-shops are not necessarily global. If you look at maybe Amazon and Alibaba, they're like a closest example of global e-commerce or e-shop companies. They still are having trouble penetrating some territories, and they're by far the bigger ones. Usually what you see is this kind of a mid-sized segment that hey, you can have a big e-shop, whatever, Slovakia, Czech Republic, or even UK or Germany, on this kind of a market. But it's pretty hard for e-shop to actually to really scale into other countries. So it's kind of still limited to some geo or some country. Second of all, you're still kind of shipping physical goods. So your margins are a couple %. So obviously the revenues could look massive, but the profit margins are pretty small. And third of all, they're kind of, let's say, commoditized, or the way how the user journey goes through eShop, it's more or less the same for everyone. Whatever you're selling, if it's whatever shoes or food, ultimately you go to the shop, you get impression on a product, you may put it in a basket, and you may abandon the basket, or you may actually pay for it, and then and that's about it. So the journey is the same for everyone, which it's easier to to make the product to cater to this segment, but it's also, let's say, not that it wasn't that exciting in my point of view to let's say think about how can you think about in this very limited or template or commoditized environment. The games are the opposite. So first of all, games are global. You cannot make a game for Slovakian, Czechoslovakia, or even just for German market or UK, right? The games have to be global. There are billions of active mobile devices, and most of the people, 80% of their time, they spend in one way or another playing. So it's the ultimate B2C business that essentially gets to everyone. It's digital, so there's no, let's say, shipping fees and anything like that. The profit margins are close to 100%. How much does it cost to sell an additional 1,000 virtual cars or something like that? And it's a fast-growing business, right? So make a ton of sense and each game, and also each game is something different. There are similar genres and so on, but again, it was so much more exciting for me to start optimizing games and eShops.
So great! Wow, what a story! So at this stage, I think by this time you had done your due diligence and you had identified that gaming is your playground, and that's the time I guess you probably relocated or took off from Slovakia to somewhere in Nordics. And I'll tell a little bit of a backstory, because the first time we met, I remember you had just returned from London. Am I correct? So I'm very, and I've heard you speak in a couple of other podcasts that you were your SuperScale headquartered in Sweden. So I'm just trying to understand your journey, your path from Slovakia at this stage where you had identified, you're going to be in the gaming industry. Tell us about your journey from here and landing in Nordics or London and coming back to Slovakia.
So that's a funny story. So when I identified that, I don't care about eShops. I need to optimize games. First idea, obviously, to do it as a part of somehow Exponia group. One of the let's say ways how I thought it could work out, that there will be like a spin-off or a brand just called Infinario, which would just cater to the gaming market and use the similar technology and so on. But it turned out to be not really a great idea because the company itself and the investors and everything, it wasn't really, let's say, focused on gaming in any way. The core business was in e-commerce and other segments. So getting resources on a product to cater to the needs of the players always need to compete with something else. So this is when I also realized, okay, when I want to do this in gaming, I need to start from scratch with the team, which understands their mission is to understand and realize the full business potential of games, and be again on the same page with the same mission, vision, and whatnot. So this is where I decided that and realized that the only way how to do it is to again start from scratch. Which I didn't mind. I was always kind of a self-starter in all these in all these endeavors ever, but I faced a challenge. Even though we had some gaming clients while I was at Exponia. In the region in Central Europe, they are not really a world.
The big players.
The big companies, and especially mobile ones, are not located in Central Europe. Period. You have some smaller or mid-sized one at best, but it's about it. The revenue, I don't know, in 2015 when I left, I think Slovakia was, I don't know, maybe 10-15 million, something like that. If we looked at, for example, but me being as an analyst, I look at the map and was looking where to go and where are actually the world's top gaming companies. Sweden, population 9.7 million, gaming revenue 1.8 billion, and hundreds of successful gaming companies there. It's like, okay, wow, that's not even that much bigger in Slovakia, but apparently something completely different scale-wise.
That's a very good example of a data-driven decision. Life decision.
Well, that's one thing. Finland, and Finland, the similar, right? It's a country population-wise, Slovakia, 5.5 million, and 3.6 billion in revenues around the time. So if you look at the Nordics, I was like, okay, I've never been there, but apparently these guys and the people over here know how to make successful games. And if I kind of go there or move there, sooner or later I would stumble upon a successful entrepreneur, and I could pitch him my idea that, hey, I'm really interested in helping you to understand how to optimize your games business through data, and this is how it went.
So how did you spot potential partners? Was there any criteria, any data, particularly metric that you looked at?
Essentially, I had some idea. So for an analyst, you need somebody or need a company or a game which already had some data or some or let's say some business case to go with. So and obviously I also kind of understood that targeting smaller companies and maybe some startups would be easier to start with than some big juggernauts out there. Listed a bunch of smaller developers around Malmo or in a broader area. Visited a bunch of conferences, bunch of meetups, and essentially wrote and try to understand which of the games could have some potential to have some data and have part of the business which could be doing better. And they wrote a bunch of emails, went on a bunch of meetups, and surprisingly enough, even though I didn't really have any kind of connections or network in the region, the feedback was really good. Like basically everyone was super interested in this kind of a approach. Everyone understood that there could be a lot of value unlocked through data, and obviously everyone was short on like a skilled labor or somebody who experienced doing so. Because again, how would you become a business analyst, game business analyst? there's no way how to study that thing, right? If you want to analyze something, it needs to be already at some scale, so it generates enough data and so on. So the only way how you can learn about this is by doing it at some other company. So the talent pool was super limited, but I wasn't interested in just being employed somewhere. I wanted to build a business with as a vendor, as a partner in these companies, and it was without any investment. It was purely bootstrap with some of the smaller partners that I found in Sweden and Finland, and also a bunch of my let's say from a bunch of small companies from Central Europe that we worked before. And it's just kind of a basics when kind of a the small idea that was still to be validated, that became SuperScale later, started being a business on its own that was able to grow, and we reinvested all the revenues into essentially scaling the team. So the answer about the SuperScale origin. So it started after I moved to Sweden, but the team also I was because I was the one-man army.
So Ivan, this was what a fascinating story and a success story, establishing SuperScale. While I understand at the core of it, it's built on business analytics framework, right? So in terms of your product or service, it's more or less solution. May I say it's a solution provider helping the the gaming companies and the developers and the publisher scale and optimize their business, right?
So essentially SuperScale is a platform which help to understand, first of all, so this is analytics part, understand what is the unrealized potential of a game or a blockchain app, and then the more exciting part, realize its full potential. So the idea behind SuperScale is it shouldn't be just a analytics tool or just some kind of a enabler that would tell you hey, actually this is how much more money you could be making if you do something, but SuperScale has to go all the way. Not only that we'll discover the opportunity that the game is not really realizing, whether it is optimizing the way how the product works, how it monetizes, and so on, but also how the marketing works. So holistic view about the game's business, understanding how much better it could be, and what are the bottlenecks that we can also prove in some through the proof of concept or pilot stages that could be done better. And then so if I put it very simply, if you attach SuperScale to a game, the game has to start performing better, and our fee comes from the upside.
Is this a transaction based or is it a long-term partnership?
So we've obviously at the beginning we were doing random stuff, a bunch of projects, bunch of short-term collaboration and so on. But now we're fully transitioned into long-term multi-year partnerships with really with big companies with large portfolios where we can, when this is where we truly shine, when we are able to essentially work and dedicate as much resources and as much technology possible to understand a sufficiently large game or large portfolio to realize its full potential. We only do big multi-year collaboration, and coming back to the story with Fingersoft and Hill Climb Racing 2, we worked together. They were, I think, 10 when we started, 9 or 10 full-time employees. Now they're over 100. I was alone when we started. We're close to 60. So we kind of grew together, and we're still working very closely together on their portfolio. We have a track record that are able to work years and add value to fast-growing and successful companies over a long time. So,
Ivan, you are a gamer primarily, I think, what I understood, and you're in the gaming industry, right? I'm not really a gaming person. So I think, and this is why this conversation for me is so much fun, because I get to, I want to understand at a very basic level. You'll have to dumb it down for me, just starting from the scratch, about gaming. Gaming as an industry, as a business? How did it all start? Help us understand that.
Yeah. So for this topic, I would kind of skip the ancient part,
Okay.
starting from chess and
Or you can
chess
skip
and
the
go and so on.
solitaire part.
And even arcade machines.
Okay.
That's very popular in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
And I would start in the first, I'd say, which still I would say the most of the population associates with gaming. It's this PC console, or what we call core game experiences. So for example, these racing games, shooting games that you would play on Xbox or PlayStation, that usually are played by whatever kids, teenagers, or
all these battle games, like it's crazy
or
about it.
shooters and whatnot. And this is like this kind of, let's say, this stereotypical gaming
console-based, PC-based, yes.
This is something that if we put it in the context of the gaming itself, it's what it's called, like, let's say, the business model of most of this game. It's retail or pay to play, which usually works like this. There's a game, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto or Halo, which costs, let's say, 40, 50 dollars, euros on launch. You need to buy it first before you play it, but then you can essentially play it how little or how much you want. The price is the same for everyone, right? And this kind of a, let's say, business model has some similarities to, for example, movie industry. So it's much closer to movies, because the game developers and publishers, they spend a lot of money, especially what we call in AAA productions, many years, tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars of budget to create this game. And then the success of a game is really determined on a game's launch, on even first couple of weeks out there, where essentially the hype around the game needs to be such big that it offsets all the costs that was incurred before. And then the way how you can monetize a game like this, you essentially, besides some smaller updates that you can also be paid for, you really need to create another game, like Grand Theft Auto 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and it gives you like this, like movies. It gives you like this heavy investment upfront, and then massive spike earnings in the first few weeks and months, and then it kind of dies down, and then you need to another one. So this part is actually currently smaller part of what is gaming industry. So
it is not completely faded out, but it's kind of...
No, it's actually still growing.
Still growing, okay.
Still growing, but compared to, for example, mobile games or now up and coming blockchain games, they're kind of a smaller minority of the revenues generated by this core and PC console pay to play games, and the reason is pretty straightforward. For you to be able to play a game, like for example Halo on Xbox, first of all, you need to own a console, which even the most successful console like PlayStation 4 all the time was celebrated when it reached 100 million sold copies. So first you need to own a console, and there's just a couple 100 million of them across generation. Second of all, you need to buy upfront each game, or most of the games that you want to play. Equipment and the game itself, you need to invest whatever, 50, 60 bucks to be able to play. And third of all, you really need to be home with your console attached to a TV and have a couple of hours at least of uninterrupted time that you can sit down and play. And this essentially is much more limited or niche market compared to, for example, mobile games, or what became currently the majority of gaming revenues industry, where mobile games, with the introduction of iPhone and App Store, and obviously Android and Google Play Store, became the number one platform to distribute, removes all these obstacles from playing. When you want to play on a mobile, everyone has mobile phone. Even couple of those.
Yeah.
Even if you're in emerging markets like in Africa or India, where
Yes.
consoles are very 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 small, a small part of the market, you can buy a phone for $20, $10 or $20, which is affordable to everyone.
Yes.
You can download for free any game.
Yeah.
You don't need to pay anything for free-to-play games, and you can play as much as you want, and you have actually millions of free games available. So this kind of a first of all brought completely new demographics to the gaming industry. So before that was, as you say, stereotypical teenagers, boys playing shooter games or car racing games, right? Or sports games. Currently, the mobile games are over $100 billion business compared to PC console, which each of them,
so mobile games,
depending on the stores on the data sources, is 20-30 billion dollar industry. So it's actually much smaller compared to mobile. And actually, funnily enough, the mobile unlocked completely new demographics, especially female and women that turn out to be much bigger spenders and players than like these boys and young males that.
Do you have any example of this? I'm really curious. Maybe I may want to go home and download these games. Any popular?
So I think one of the most popular ones is Candy Crush Saga from Developer King. This is a game which is played and paid for by women 35-40 plus. And yeah, it's literally one of the most successful games of all times. And thanks to mobile as a and you know these players or women in games that play games, they do not really play, or most of them do not really play console games because the content is not interesting for them. They usually do not have that much time to play in the first place. But on mobile, you can play anytime. A very casual gaming experience. And it turned out to be so the gaming industry from this pay-to-play PC console retail kind of a business transformed with the introduction of mobile into a super inclusive industry where essentially everyone with a mobile phone plays.
Yeah, it's changed the game of the gaming industry.
Absolutely,
it was a game changer, the mobile game.
Well, nice pun, Divya.
Yeah, thank you. So from here, I think we are evolving into something that I really want to talk about, the metaverse, gaming in metaverse, or.
And this is before even going to the metaverse, which is a very interesting topic.
Okay.
When we're talking about the evolution from pay-to-play PC console into mobile, which is now majority of titles. Right now, from actually last year, it was a year when we started seeing blockchain and Web3 games coming in, which is again a new business model of its own, which actually combines a bunch of interesting properties from pay-to-play and free-to-play, and this is also currently one of the fastest growing industries ever conceived, even compared to the growth of the internet. We see blockchain games picking up speed and in a bigger pace in some notions. So we see that again after this a decade of mobile growth and overtaking all the traditional like formats and platforms, we see that the blockchain could be another big revolution that just started last year. So all in all, gaming industry as a business is super dynamic, super exciting, and every couple of years there's some besides the evolution on the existing models, we see revolution every couple of years that again redefines the way how people are able to consume entertainment in a broader sense.
So just to summarize, if I look at the three main stages or pillars of the evolution of gaming industry, we start with the PC console and gaming as through a retail format, moving into a mobile digital space, right, which completely transformed and changed the gaming industry. And now we are moving into what you just mentioned, which I would like to talk about in much more detail. Blockchain based game, or gaming in blockchain, or and to be very specific, I started to my few things got my attention is when my kids start to play Roblox and Minecraft, which for me they were almost in that space. It was almost for them a social experiment, or they had their own avatars and they're interacting with their actual schoolmates in that game, Roblox. And so I would like to delve more into this whole space of, I think, Web3, Metaverse. What is the relation? How does gaming look in this Metaverse, which we all are talking about, everyone's talking about?
So this is, again, super interesting topic, especially in the context of gaming, because there could be many arguments could be made that gaming was the first medium that actually introduced a concept of Metaverse. And actually it was way before the Web3 and blockchain as technology became available. Like if we, the kind of the beauty of a Metaverse that, it's not really strictly defined term. Everyone has its own idea what actually is Metaverse and what is not, and some there, you may hear some stronger opinions and this is absolutely not Metaverse and whatnot. But still, I think when we talk about Metaverse in a sense, how to socially interact, or a way how we can interact with other people or even other objects in a digital space. I think one of the gaming as a medium was a pioneer in many of these concepts. I would definitely highlight World of Warcraft as one of the first globally successful way how you could essentially join this game in create an avatar or avatars that you would very openly able to interact not just with the virtual which is out there, but especially with other players, whether you are trading with them, fighting with them, doing a mission or quest together with them. It formed a lot of super strong relationship that many of them resulted into marriages
actual
or weddings.
Relationship, dating and marriages.
Okay. So I think World of Warcraft was I think it's not like the only one, but I think one of the most prolific one, which proved that these virtual connections could be as strong or for many people as strong as the physical ones in a sense. And you could really interact with others through avatar, which you could see in the Metaverse in a sense, like for example, Meta or Facebook, which is in a sense also a similar approach. You could and this was way before nothing in World of Warcraft is based on blockchain, but actually also World of Warcraft, it's very interestingly was an inspiration for actually creating some of the based on blockchain technologies like Ethereum. So one of the stories about why we actually need a blockchain or some kind of a decentralized way how we can essentially exchange assets without kind of the central authority. So in a sense, you could absolutely do most of this stuff without blockchain, some kind of a centralized way, but it has some caveats. So for example, in terms of World of Warcraft, the sole owner of the whole is Blizzard, or right now Activision Blizzard, or actually Microsoft Activision Blizzard King Megacorp, which can literally decide at any moment that, hey, you as a player, I'm going to block you because you somehow broke some kind of rules that I decided, or I changed the rules. What is value of some kind of an item, or what is essentially a power level of something that you bought or grind for, or I can forbid you to trade assets that you own in the game because they are not truly yours. It belongs to to Blizzard or the game publisher, and we just merely
Yeah.
and even though you pay for the game, you kind of merely renting it, so to speak.
It creates an illusion of you are in total control of your asset and it's your currency,
yeah,
but it's
essentially
not.
it's not, right? You're the way how it is structured, you're getting just a license, a very limited license, what you can do with it, and that can change at any moment, right? So and this was something that you can see the parallels in with a like a fiat currencies as well, the way how the dollar or the euro works, right? Do you own it? Yes and no, you know, when a central bank decides that we'll print more money, or we do some kind of quantitative easing that will kind of devalue your currency, this is something that you have very little control what to do about. So I think the core concept of Metaverse, the kind of the ownership, that ownership of digital asset has a value. It doesn't matter that it's virtual, it's not physical. If a person assigns a value to this rare sword or this or this whatever pile of virtual gold, it has a value. The same as, you know, printed sheets of money has some value because you assign something to it. But it's really giving too much power to the developers and publishers who owned the IP. So within this context, we see in a similar ways, you can argue that Steam, as a kind of the major distribution platform for PC titles, is introduced also some concepts which are now associated with Metaverse, that you are able to essentially buy and play and interact with many games and game mods. You are able to buy skins and trade them within the ecosystem.
But what is the digital currency used here? It's not using the blockchain.
So this is completely decentralized. So essentially, like in World of Warcraft, you have a gold as a basic currency, or World of Warcraft gold, which is kind of virtual currency that is completely under control of Blizzard or the publisher. They can decide that, okay, now we're signing, now we're kind of making something more expensive, less expensive, or you know, doing whatever we can. The similar way in Steam, there's a Steam dollars, actually called dollars, but when you spend anything in Steam or get some money in Steam, it's converted to what is called Steam dollars, and it works like normal dollars, but not really, because, for example, in Steam, if you are able to earn some dollars, you are the terms of service prohibits you to withdraw it from the system. So the only thing what you can do with this currency inside of Steam platform is to buy another game or another asset within the platform. You are unable to kind of cash out, let's say legally. Which it's usually the big problem with that. Similar in World of Warcraft or decentralized system, if you are able to kind of own some kind of currency or some kind of assets, but you're unable to trade it or unable to trade it outside this particular ecosystem.
But can we? And I'm trying to understand, like Steam as a distributor, and they have their own Steam dollar. Sorry. Roblox, as I heard, is Roblox dollar. Roblox as a currency. Roblox, yes. I know, because my daughter wanted to get my credit card to get some currency. But how? So if I have Roblox or something worth, you know, let's say 100 Roblox, an asset, could that be traded within, if the two, given two different games are in this Steam platform? Could we exchange? Could that money? Is that an apple to orange transaction possible? You know.
So legally, no. So once you buy Robux or Steam dollars or WoW Gold or earn in some way, you are able to use it, but only on the platform. So you are unable to, for example, withdraw your Steam dollars or Robux from the platform and buy, I don't know, your groceries or spend in another game or World of Warcraft or Steam, right? You're kind of locked in. Your assets are locked in, and you are not really free to do with them. You are only able to do with them what the developer decides at that particular time. He allows you to do, and which conditions. That can change also at any time. They can decide that what was possible before is not possible now, and so on. There are many examples how how they try to do it.
Yeah.
So I think the whole discussion between what it's called, let's say, Web 2 or these kind of metaverse examples in centralized settings and Web 3 or blockchain is about the nature of digital ownership.
Right.
It's essentially giving back more power and more control of the digital assets from this kind of a centralized centralized systems where the developer publisher owns everything and just decides at any point what you're allowed to do into your own hand. And I think this is what makes the value proposition, especially for players of blockchain and Web3 more interesting, that, hey, actually, I investing a lot of time and money into games that became as a hobby for me, right? But at some point, for whatever reason, I stopped playing the game. I have very limited or no legal option how to get these invested assets out and use it for something different. I see. So again, there's a clear value proposition for players why they should invest more time if they had a choice. Investing your time and money into a Web3 or blockchain games gives you a more sense of it's not just to spend money and time, but could be as a form of investment that you can recoup later.
So you accumulate assets and wealth
and believe that you are able to withdraw it in some way later on. But of course, it comes with a bunch of caveats. Like for example, first of all, if you're a mainstream gamer or a player, you wouldn't play a shitty game or a bad game only because it's blockchain or Web3. You would rather play a non-blockchain game, but a good game, right? But having let's say the premise behind the blockchain and Web3 game is that, hey, if we can make as good game with on top of blockchain technology, which allows players to own the assets and trade them later on, as the one who is centralized, the players would choose the blockchain alternative because it just it just makes more sense and they're getting more out of their experience also financially.
Right. Talking about digital assets, cryptocurrencies, I remember last month I was talking to one of my guests about Metaverse, and he mentioned, we talked briefly about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and NFTs. I'm very curious to know more about NFTs. What are NFTs and how it fits into the gaming industry and blockchain gaming industry particularly?
Yes, absolutely. So NFTs or non-fungible tokens, my favorite way how to look at it or how to describe it for somebody from the outside is essentially a technology which allows you to have a proof of, if you will, certificate of ownership or unique certificate of ownership of a physical or digital asset, which is written in a public ledger or the publicly available distributed database. So anyone can check that who is the owner of this particular asset, whether it is digital but also physical one. And the interesting properties of NFTs are tied to various different use cases, right? So it's not just like games are very interesting, let's say, vertical that can make great use of NFTs, but also you can see it in art, you can see it in music, that you can see it in memes, that you can essentially are able to own an NFT of a first of a original meme picture or somebody behind a meme or the first tweet of founder of Twitter, and bunch of crazy stuff.
So literally, I would capture the meme. It would be kind of a emoji or a graphic measure, and there would be a dollar value sign, and that's mine. Is that how it works?
So essentially, somebody who would be, let's say, legitimate owner of the particular asset would can what it's called mint an NFT of the asset, and then sell it to somebody else at some price in an auction or whatever. And not only that, the NFT and the whole blockchain technologies that underlying it allows some interesting business models that were essentially not, I said like not possible, but let's say less are made more feasible. So, for example, if you create a piece of art or a song or anything that you would or even some virtual item in a game, you can decide that some kind of a rules of how would you benefit from this particular item. And it's not just about assigning a dollar value to the NFT and selling it and banking on the first or primary purchase. You can also say that, hey, you as an owner will get 5% or whatever amount each time that this particular asset is traded later on. So essentially I would compare it to in some way a royalty of usage and trading on an NFT, and it's underpinned by essentially blockchain technology that allows you to essentially track it and bank on each transaction going forward. So long story short, it's a technology, or it's a way how you can essentially prove that you are an owner of some assets that you're able to resell later on, or rent, or there are many other ways what you can do with it. You can essentially emulate most of the or all of the real world examples you can do with your own asset, and on top of that create some new use cases going forward. And how NFTs are essentially used in games. NFTs. So right now we have some good examples how NFT is, and many bad examples.
Let's hear about them. A few of them.
The NFTs to have some value out of NFT, there needs to be connected with the scarcity. So if you would essentially create an NFT which is not in any way scarce, and it's a commodity that you can create any of them, any number of them, or so on, it won't retain value, or it's not really an interesting asset to be essentially used as an NFT. On the other hand, if you are create something that is a rare or unique, like as I said, like for example, NFT of a first tweet of Jack Dorsey or founder of Twitter or something like that, the potential issue or effect or problem, it could be very expensive or prohibitively expensive for if this would be as a basis of some kind of a game or interaction later on. So you need to kind of really think very and this kind of approach to how to design NFTs, how to make it part of your in-game economy or economy of a blockchain game, that it's kind of connected to the real world economy and the real world. This is called this falls under the umbrella of what is called tokenomics. Tokenomics, and it's like economics, but we token related stuff, which kind of tries to solve how to properly design the economies which are using whether NFTs or some other aspects of the particular blockchain game and app to be actually a sustainable business and not something that crashes due to NFTs or currencies that do not retain or do not have value, or are too scarce and have too prohibitive value for new players to enter. These are NFTs. NFTs in games, I would say the great examples are or something that is a natural fit is, as I said, any games that rely on collectibles. So collectible card games is usually like a very good fit. It's a known concept that from games like Magic the Gathering and these
Pokemon, is that?
And Pokemon, a trading card game, and so not even in physical world, they really have this kind of a thriving economies.
I should make sure I don't throw them out. My son has like a huge, 500 of them, and he still wants more.
Yeah,
it could be future.
And again, and this is also, I would say, the example why even the biggest skeptics of NFTs, like how can I don't know, NFT of something have value? It's just a virtual whatever nonsense or whatever. You can look again at, for example, Magic the Gathering. It's a trading card game which is over 27 years, I guess, at this point, maybe a bit more, on the market, which essentially every period, I don't know, every 3 to 6 months, they release a new batch of physical cards that are printed that essentially introduce some new game mechanics and so on. And most of the time, it's never reprinted again, or there is some scarcity involved, or the Wizards of the Coast, the publisher of Magic the Gathering, kind of created this economy of scarcity about a rarity of the cards and scarcity of them that proved to stand the test of time. That even like a quarter century later, many of the cards still retain and grow the value, and especially the oldest ones could be worth hundreds of thousands or more to buy, and so on. So you see that you are able to create this in physical world, this kind of a collectible economy for long term that is based on the scarcity, and this is also very interesting because many Magic of the there is a segment of Magic the Gathering collectors that do not play the game; they just collect the cards or even speculate on them, just to try to buy some cards that they think that will
appreciate in future.
Appreciate in future, exactly. And this concept on the blockchain, in Web3, and thanks to NFTs, is just on steroids and on anything, right?
Multiplied
So I think you can find a parallels how this actually worked for a long time in a physical world, and how it can translate into virtual world. But obviously, right now it's still very early as a technology. You have many really. There's a lot of scam, really bad applications about NFTs. There is many of the IP related issues that NFT, even though as a technology gives you a proof that who is a owner of this particular asset, it doesn't necessarily translate into legal copyright IP holding of something. So we can see a lot of sometimes when a discrepancy arises, that there's somebody who sold you NFT of something that they claim they have license to, they actually turn out to they didn't have, or the original IP owner pulled out, and everybody, all the kind of investors lost their money.
Very not controversial, but it's very disputive. It's not very regulated and clear. So we'll have to wait and watch.
So again, it's as any emerging or early stage market. There's nothing is yet truly figured out. There are some promising. There are some promising examples. The same with essentially any emerging technology, like the internet when it came and so on. They also had a lot of problems with security and whatnot. So ultimately, but I think nobody would say right nowadays like, there's some danger on the internet, so we should stop using internet. No, we learn what works and how to work with it to get some value out of it. So similarly with NFTs, we need to be careful about the scams of badly designed NFTs and to really be mindful about that. We're still early age, so you can play with it, but you need to be mindful that.
I'm just curious, Ivan, what in the gaming, blockchain gaming, do you have any cutting edge games, very popular games according to you? Just if you want to name a few, tell us about it.
So again, blockchain games, super new thing. Like I would say one of the first blockchain game, one of the first well-known, actually came in 2017, called CryptoKitties, which is first kind of gaming application on top of blockchain, and turned out to be so popular that it kind of congested the Ethereum, the right now the second most popular and valuable cryptocurrency after Bitcoin, because it congested the whole network with the amount of interaction that the players of CryptoKitties were able to do so.
CryptoKitties. So if I just install and I need to, if I have assets.
And this what's getting complicated with blockchain Web3 games. Many of them actually are not that easy to just pick up and play.
Okay.
Many of them requires a certain level of familiarity with the blockchain and a Web3 and NFT space. Requires you to know what the wallet is, or having a wallet requires you to pay even upfront. So getting back to this retail or pay-to-play business from Universities, it's back in many of blockchain games. That first of all, you need to kind of acquire some kind of an asset to be able to play the game itself, and then and there's a bunch of also issues that, for example, with the right now mobile platforms like Apple, Apple and Google Play really have kind of a hostile attitude towards cryptocurrencies, because it circumvents the payment system that is core of their business there. So you cannot yet find many good examples of blockchain titles on mobile phone, which is the biggest platform, as we know, from the mobile revolution out there. So there's it's still very early on, but if we look at in a way that the PC console and retail gaming in 19s and 2000s was kind of limited to owners of consoles, of PCs, and hardcore players. This was expanded with mobile devices to essentially everyone in the world, and free to play, and everyone can pick up and play whatever they need. It introduces new audiences like women and
housewives
and housewives to play to easy pick up games that are easy to play and give us some time on top of that. The similar thing is happening with the blockchain, which also introduces completely new segment of people who didn't play or interacted with games at all before. Because the thing about when we're going back to the interesting value proposition for players. So for players, the blockchain and Web3 games, providing that they're actually fun games, is that, okay, I can retain some sense of ownership of what I invested in time and money into the game, and later trade it into something else, even for a physical good if I want to cash out or trade for something completely else. And but also, for example, it enables you to kind of earn a living out of it in a much more straightforward way. So for example, if we're talking about evolution of blockchain games, so from CryptoKitties, which was this kind of a first kind of a collectible based on game, which was a great and ingenious example how to do it. The Axie Infinity iterated on the concept and essentially made it the in-game economy work in what is called the play to earn model, where you are able to essentially earn cryptocurrency by playing a game. You are able to earn a valuable currency, which is made part of the game, which you are able to sell later to other players and essentially cash out and earn some money. And it turned out to be that by playing Axie Infinity for 8 to 10 hours per day, you are able to earn consistently $300, $400, $500 per month.
Wow.
So and it became kind of a phenomenon in Southeast Asia, especially in Philippines and around, where instead of doing like some really low-paying job or being unemployed and so on, you could essentially, even if you are not a player yourself, it was essentially a way how you can earn a kind of a livable wage for the particular part of the world per month just by playing or grinding. That's what is called smooth luck potions in the game, which allows to breed more Axies and resell later. And this became quite a bit phenomenon. Thanks to Axie Infinity, it became a multi-billion dollar game, and company Sky maybe is behind it. Grew thanks so much. But it also showed that this has limits. So Axie Infinity actually it's after the first hype, it kind of start falling a bit bit of the cliff, and it was predicted that the way how the game was set up, it relied on an influx of a new, like a bit of like a Ponzi scheme. It relied on an influx of a new players who would be able to buy and interested in the more and more produced currency and SLPs to be able to sustain the whole model. And when the price of the SLP crashed below some level, so you no longer earned $300, $500 per month, which is something that we're looking for, but $100 or $50 or something like that, this became unsustainable as a kind of the play to earn model, and provided some barriers to scaling this kind of a title. So it also shows that even the biggest and the best examples of the currently widely popular blockchain games have some limits. So actually, when we're looking in the future, we're looking for these new, essentially, set of games which are right now done by professional game developers and game development companies that try to first of all create a really good game with some correct implementation of tokenomics and NFTs and blockchain inside it that supports the whole good game, and not just very hard to get into kind of a title with a lot of problems built in with scaling and interacting.
And I guess that's what we'll see in the next wave or the future of gaming industry. I mean, this was all so informative, Ivan. Thank you so much. I think if I have to summarize my takeaway, when I said in the beginning, I'm not a gamer, and typically I would have seen gaming as an entertainment way to entertain, or having some sort of an escape from reality, and having it's all fun and no business. Based on what we hear and what I see, gaming is an industry in itself, and not just for an entrepreneur, but also as a player, as a gamer. As you explained, it's an opportunity to invest, to earn, a monthly income. So this is probably the one of the biggest industry that would be shaping up in the future. But enough talking. I think this is great. Let's play some games. I think we have a console, we have a PlayStation, we have a controller, we have some games.
Absolutely.
What do you say?
So now the work is over. Let's play Halo.
Thank you for watching. If you liked our conversations and this video brought you value, please hit like and subscribe if you haven't.